mute my mic. Yes, so I was saying hello, hello, hello. I didn't realize my mic was muted. This is another Friday Live with Debbie, your discovery coach, founder of your discovery coach, other triggers. And I'm so excited to be with you again this afternoon. But before I go on, I bought this, beautiful ornament I'm using on my decks, and I got the inspiration from my mentor. She doesn't even know about this, but she was doing her back behind the scene filming, and I saw this beautiful, hourglass on her table, and I was like, well, that's a very good idea. And since I got this hourglass, I've just been, looking at it, and from looking at it, it's been teaching me how fleeting life is, how our life, our time is our life. For every minute that we spend wisely or not wisely, is our life that we're living. The hourglass, goes really slowly. The sand is going through really slowly. And that's exactly how life is. It's just, it feels like there's nothing happening, right? It feels like, 1 hour is nothing, 1 minute is nothing, 1 second is nothing. But as it keeps dripping, as it keeps dropping, you're seeing how life is just going. So it's a beautiful reminder for me when I see it on my decks, and I watch it go. I'm like, wow. So every 1 minute or every 5 minutes I waste, it's actually just me wasting. And it just tells me also how fleeting life is. Very fleeting. Today you're here, tomorrow you're not. So it's just my encouragement, let's not do bare minimum. And that's what comes to mind when I look at this hourglass. Let's not live life on bare minimum. Let's not live life without verve and without enthusiasm. Everything that you're procrastinating for tomorrow, everything that you're saying tomorrow, I'll start tomorrow, I'll do this tomorrow, I'll do that, you may not be here tomorrow to do it. Tomorrow may not come, tomorrow may come, but if there's anything I've learned from my mentor, is when she says that I live each day like it's my last, so I give my best to each day. And that's the reminder that I get from just watching my hourglass and the sun seeping through, just watching, just reflecting on life. So let's just go on. Today is our fourth week in our series of in our Rediscovery series, and so far we've uncovered in week one, we've uncovered the face we wear, how our emotions live in our expressions. In week two, we've talked about the strong mom persona and the mask of strength. In week three, we've spoken about the unspoken inheritance and how and legacies we carry beyond words. So words, it's not just by the things we say, even the way we carry ourselves, the way we serve dinner, the way we make dinner, the way we keep the house, the way we do things. We're doing much more than just being, a mom. We're actually passing on legacies, the sighs, the shouting, the yelling, the stress that we carry in our body, the constant tired look. These are subtle legacies that we are passing. And, it helped us to pause and to stop, to be able to reflect, and just, it's not a judgment call. I always say this in my life. It's not a judgment call. Even, talking to you here, it's a work in progress. It's something that you need to be aware of. And then awareness also helps you to, seek change, to seek help. And that's why we're here, because we all need help. We were all brought up differently. Some of us had a harder childhood than the other. Some of us had a better childhood. It doesn't even matter what the past is or what the history is, but it's also important to know what this past is and the things that are embedded in our, in our DNA. Things are embedded. You don't understand why you're trying to start things. You don't understand why you're trying to do things. You don't understand why you are trying to become, but there are things that just keep you stuck. Even just before this life, I was saying to myself, I was having, I was listening to my self-talk. Like I said, I think about my thoughts, and I was like, no, 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 no. This self-talk does not belong to the Debbie that is becoming. This self-talk needs to stay at the background, because the self-talk came, it's a constant thing. The self-talk comes and says, oh, and I'm like, no, it's not. I'm not giving bare minimum. I'm not doing bare minimum. Forgive me if I gave you the impression that I want to do bare minimum, but I want to go forward. And it's the constant reminder. It's the constant working on ourselves until we see the life that we want to live. We see the thing that, potential. We're not burying potential every day. We're not burying ourselves every day. And that's why we are here, every Friday to help us, to grow, to pull ourselves out of the dungeon of I'm not enough, I'm too old, to pull ourselves out of dungeons of behavior that would not take you anywhere, pull yourself out of dungeons of, whatever it is that is holding you down. You don't understand why you can't move. You don't understand the anchors that are keeping you stuck in one place. These things are just to expose our minds, to give us an awareness. So let's go on. And today, what are we going to be talking about? The mirror doesn't lie. When we see what we see, what you see when you look at you. So when you talk about the mirror, I'm not talking about a physical mirror as you would figure, you know, but we're not talking about hi Alicia, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. So we're not talking about just the physical mirror, but I want you to just do this exercise. When you look into the mirror, say, tell me what you see. Tell me what you see when you look into the mirror. You know, I want you to be open. I want you to be honest. It's not a judgment zone. We're here to open our minds to learning. We're here to see the subtleness of behaviors that keep us stuck, see the subtleness of things that keep us from fully becoming all that God has created us to be, all that we have the capacity to become. So when you look into the mirror, what do you see? And today we're just going to be exploring how the mirror shows us not just our appearance, but our alignment, whether we are living as the woman we want to be or whether we are drifting away from her. So this mirror exercise today, is just helping us to see, are we living in an alignment or are we drifting? And I'm going to be using a framework, the 3 A's framework. So this particular live is going to be very short. I have a poly child, and yes, we will be going, we'll try and do it as fast as we can so that I can go and attend to her. But yeah, let's go on. When you look in the mirror, the reflection never lies, but it doesn't always tell you the whole truth either. So some mirrors just, some mirrors are concave, some mirrors are convex mirrors. So it might not give you a true picture. So we've never really seen ourselves. That's the truth. So the mirror that you're seeing is actually just a reflection, right? It's not that, that's how you really are. It may not tell you the whole picture, it's just a reflection. So reflections can be distorted also. Reflections can be changed. Depends on the type of mirror, it depends on the lighting in the house, it depends on the position of the mirror, it depends on so many factors can change that reflection. But that doesn't always tell us the truth. But I want to share with you a simple and powerful tool I call the 3A mirror framework, and it has 3 steps. So the first step I want you to recognize is, acknowledgement, the now mirror. This is about being honest with yourself. Ask yourself, honest questions. Where am I right now? What am I right now? When you look in the mirror today, what do you see? Are you seeing tiredness? Are you seeing strength? Are you seeing a mixture of both? What exactly do you see? How do you feel on the inside of you? Let's see. You're not being negative, because the truth also then sets you free, helps you to look for the help that you need to help. It helps you to take. So for instance, it helps you to diagnose and take the right medicine per se. We're not talking about physically now, but the right medicine, the right approach to deal with these things. When you look into the mirror, what's that thing that comes to your mind? How do you view yourself? That's the now mirror. Are you facing reality without judgment? So you can be kind to yourself. You can say, see, I can see you're trying really hard and I can see you're struggling. You're not being mean to yourself. That's not what we call negative side self-talk. You're not being mean to yourself. You're just telling yourself, okay, this is how I really feel. And I could do with some rest. I could do with, overhauling the way I look. I could do with XYZ. It could be anything. So the now mirror is about facing reality without judgment. It's about noticing what's there and what you wish was here. So when you look in yourself now, What is it that you're wishing? Oh, I wish I could, I wish I could read more. I wish I had more time for myself. I wish this, I wish that. What are the things? So me, when I was doing these exercises prior to today, I realized that there were some. So I have a lot of journals. I keep saying that I have a lot of journals for different things. Some journals are easier to do for me because it's easy. It has to do with, certain things that I love writing about. Some journals not. So I started asking myself, this particular journal that I have a problem with, why do I hate to confront the truth about this particular part of my life? What is it? I started to try and dig. What is it that actually makes me to not honor that particular time for that particular journal? So the other journals I don't have it. Well, not all. I have 9 journals, different areas of my life, different things that I do like that. And I was saying to myself that why is it that ABC, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. Very easy for me, as in I call my do that I write and I'm so excited to write about it. But when it comes to this particular aspect, what am I seeing or what am I wishing for? And I realized I was struggling so much. So it's not it because there's no improvement without, there's no improvement without review. There's no improvement. You don't review, you can't improve. So I haven't really dug to the end, but it's something that I have noticed. You see, but if I was not conscious of the fact that I'm not doing certain things, or I keep giving excuses. So also it's not about giving excuses. I wish this for my life. I wish I could do this for my, for my journey, and I wish I could be this. It's not about giving excuses. When you realize, okay, this is what I want to be, this is where I want to be, these are the things that I want to become, this is what I wish, I was. When you start to see it, you can make a plan for it. You can understand why does your body resist. Why does your body resist going, into the gym? Why does your body resist eating healthy? What are these? These are messages. You take it as a message, not a judgment. So why do I resist, doing certain things that I know that will help me to grow? Why is the resistance? When you approach yourself from a point of view of curiosity, you can find answers, not judgment. So curiosity helps you to find answers. Curiosity helps you to understand that, okay, maybe this particular journal is a difficult part of my journey just because of what I have been through, or just because I don't feel, or I don't, we talk a lot about feelings as women, because I don't feel. So what am I feeling? What can I do to help myself to feel, or can I do to help myself to act despite feeling? Because the only way you can move forward is when you act despite how you feel. There's no, if it's just imagine you went to the hospital and the doctor says, oh, you need to do an operation. And then he now says, but if I don't do the operation in the next 12 minutes, you're going to die. Oh, I don't feel like, because I don't feel like it. How would you survive? So learning that, okay, you do certain things because you're learning about yourself, the best thing you can study, instead of studying celebrities or influencers or other people, is best you study yourself. So why is this particular aspect of my life, this thing I'm wishing for, why is it such a difficult thing? Why am I struggling? What's the resistance? What's the resistance that comes up when I approach this thing that I want? I really want to be slim. I really want to do my exercise. I really want to write that book. I really want to start my cake business. I really want to, do this. I really want to do that. But every time I rise up to do it, there's a resistance. Question that resistance. So notice what is here. We've just said that, and then not what you wish was here. That's what we're talking about. So the first thing is acknowledge. That's the now mirror. The next thing we're going to do is to audit the past mirror. The second step is to audit what voices or comparisons are shaping your reflection. So we've talked about resistance in the last couple of seconds. Is it that I keep comparing myself? Oh, these guys are just, I graduated with them, but they are now CEOs of their companies. Or am I looking on, social media and saying, oh, these people, and then you scroll, and then you see, okay, let's check. They're even young like me. Oh. What's the comparison? The past mirror. What are the things? What are the voices you heard when, maybe your teacher said about you, or your parents said about you, they called you names, or they, put you down. So why are those things? Those things can become anchors that make you go nowhere. So every time you want to rise and do something, something just tells you that have you ever succeeded in your life? It starts to remind you, starts to give you your CV of things you have failed on. But those are the past. And like, we know that these things you don't have to be bound by our past. I have this thing from Rob Parsons. It's a card and I love it. I put it near my desk for just this afternoon. And it says, tomorrow doesn't have to be like yesterday. Doesn't have to be like yesterday. I have a couple of them. Tomorrow does not have to be like yesterday. So what are those, when you're auditing, what are the past actions? You know, are you seeing yourself through your mother's old words or your father's old words? Are you seeing yourself through someone, somebody they had labeled you as a child, they had labeled you as a teenager, Ijobon, you're too stubborn, you're this, you're that. They've labeled you, so you're carrying labels. Even though it was, a couple of years ago, are they still following you? Are they still dragging you? You can't move. You can't understand why you're not moving forward, because these things are dragging your feet. Are there cultural ideals that you've imbibed into yourself? Oh, in our culture, this is how we do. Let me give an example of cultural ideals. So I have a left-handed daughter, and it was when I realized she was left-handed that my mind just went back to how they used to slap us, in Nigeria, where you use the left hand to give an adult something. Yes, I understand that that's culture, right? But when I got here, and I realized that I didn't even know, because obviously when you grow up in a certain place, you think, oh, it's everybody in the world pierces ears when they have children. It's not true. They don't pierce ears until the child says, I want to pierce my ears and I can take the pain. When I pierced my daughter's ears, they looked at me as like, you're being barbaric. That's one cultural ideal. And I didn't say anything wrong with it. But also, when I came here and I realized that my daughter was left-handed, and it was such a normal thing, we've had my mom, for instance, does not believe that the left hand should be used for anything. So she will beat you and beat you and beat you until you start to use your right hand. So I wanted to give somebody who was much older than me something, and it was in my left hand. And unconsciously, I changed it straight to my right hand and I gave it to her. And it was later, she just said, Debbie, I found that really funny, because we talked about it. I said, yes, because in Nigeria, where I grew up, left hand is a taboo. It's a taboo for me to call you your first name. It's a taboo for me to do this, that. And we talked and we talked and and she was like, it's interesting, because in her mind, she was like, just give. Even when I go to the store and I want to hand, maybe I'm paying cash and I want to hand cash and it's in my left hand, I still find myself, these are things that don't really impact on us. But what are the cultural ideals that actually impact on us? Let's think about it for a minute. They keep you in spaces that says, just stay stuck. A woman's place is in the kitchen. The woman's place is in the home. It's subtle, but deep down that is not. But you are so anchored, in these cultural ideals that is hard for you. You're not seeing any progress, you're not seeing any results. You say, yes, I want to become, I want to do this and I want to do that, but you're not seeing any actual progress, because these things are so ingrained. They become anchors that keep you in a place. You see, when a ship is on the sea and it has an anchor and it's just anchored into, the ship is not going anywhere. Until they remove that anchor, the ship is not going. And that's how some of us, our lives are. We're not going anywhere, because there's an anchor. There's something that keeps us, stuck. And then the next mirror that we want to look at. So the next mirror that we want to look at is the becoming mirror. Finally, we align. So alignment. We align the mirror. So we've talked about now what it is that you are now, what you're struggling with, what is the resistance that you feel, and then the past, the anchors that keep us stuck, the cultural ideals, things, the comparisons that shape our reflection, the voices that keep saying keep ringing in our head, the self-talk that you do that reflects the things that you heard growing up. And now let's talk about alignment. Finally, we align. The mirror does not just show us who you are, it can remind you of who you are becoming. So now ask yourself a question. Does the woman in the mirror look like the woman I dream of being? If not, what step can I take today to move closer? So you know what you want to, you know what your life would, you know what you want your life to look like in the next 5 years, you know what you want your life to look like in the next 10 years. Are you aligning? Are you taking steps towards that woman? Are you doing the things that will bring you closer to who that woman is? Are you acting despite how you feel? Because you wanting a thing is different, is one way. Working towards it is another thing. They're two different things. So I want to become a billionaire, I don't mind. I want to become a billionaire, but what are my habits? What am I doing? How am I, how am I showing up every day to become that woman? Alignment is where this rediscovery happens. This is the rediscovery series. So alignment is I want to become, let's use an example. I want to become a doctor, an academic doctor. So I want to do a PhD. I stand up from here. I research universities that offer what I really love. I put in my application. I look for a supervisor. So I'm not just sitting down and wishing to become an academic doctor. I am actually doing the work to do a PhD. I register for my PhD. I go through the rigors and I do everything. Then I finally graduate. They say so it's very difficult, but I have counted the costs and I know that this thing is a difficult road to get to. I have, I'm pushing myself further and further, towards my goal. I'm not sitting down and just saying, I wish, oh, it'd be nice to have doctor in front of my name, or it would be nice to have, whatever it is in front of my name. No, I am doing the work. That's the alignment. So there's a woman you are dreaming of becoming, but are you taking steps? And that's where rediscovery happens, because nothing would open up if you don't take a move. Nothing will open up if you don't take a step. And that's the thing. And that's how time goes. And that's how, I talked about, my hourglass, and how time just drips slowly. You can see how slow it is. There's nothing rushed about it. There's nothing forced. It's the same rhythm. It's the same pace. But you don't even understand that life, that time that is going is your life. So are you just sitting down there and wishing, or are you working in alignment to what you are wishing? Alignment is, is not your is where your now reflection and your past echoes and your becoming self begin to point in the same direction. So what you are now, your what you are now, what you see when you look into the mirror, what you see is aligning. You see, your past has been dealt with, because tomorrow doesn't have to be like yesterday. So your tomorrow doesn't have to be your tomorrow doesn't have to be like how you were. So all those things they said about you, all those behaviors that they complained about, and all that kind of thing doesn't have to be about you. Everything, you've moved past that, and you've told yourself, I am becoming, and I'm going to start to point in that direction that I need to be. So I'm going to talk about briefly how, how I'm going to talk briefly about just a little story. A season where, when I stood in front of the mirror and felt like I didn't recognize the woman staring back. I was always tired. I I looked small, just shriveled up. You're just stressed about life. And then I looked like, just pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring in until there was nothing else left. And I realized the mirror wasn't lying. I was seeing myself not only through the lens of exhaustion and comparison. I and that's when I applied this 3A framework, and I changed how I saw myself. I acknowledge, yes, I'm tired. So yeah, like I've said before, my daughter came and said, Mom, you're always tired. And I said, yes, yes, yes. Let's change that narrative. And I audited the voices I was hearing through old scripts of, this, you're not enough, you're not this, you're not that, you're the only one. I started to edit the stories that I were in my head. So self-talk for me became very important. Anything that didn't align with where I was going, I scrapped it off, because whatever my mom said about me as a child, whatever people said about me as a child, that person is gone, literally gone. she doesn't exist anymore. And then I started to align. I reminded myself of who I was becoming. I was becoming a woman of strength. I was going to be a woman of purpose and clarity. And it's that, it sounds straightforward, but it takes, you being brutally honest with yourself. You're being brutally honest with yourself and telling yourself the truth, because it's not somebody else. Somebody else might tell you, and then like, what she talking about? It's not that easy. It's not that straightforward. But when you tell yourself the truth, when you come and you come to terms with the truth by yourself, for yourself, and you tell yourself enough is enough. There's so many times I've stood up for certain issues, and I'm like, enough is enough. How long do we continue to waste time? How long do we continue to waste life? How long do we continue to mull over the things that don't matter? Enough is enough. So until you come and you tell yourself, I'm not, except, the only thing that, what saddens me a lot about life is when, people don't come to that point where they're like, I'm doing a honest assessment of my life. And if I don't do that, if I continue to go in this trajectory, my old age is going to be miserable. They don't do that. Then they get to old age and they realize they become bitter, they become annoyed because they've just wasted life. It felt like they were so busy. It felt like they were putting things into putting, but every time you don't do the work on yourself, you stand the chance of not changing. You stand the chance of not, finding any progress, of becoming. The potential dies. And it gets worse as you age. And that's the unfortunate thing. It's not impossible, but it just gets worse because you become set in your ways. So for me, self-development, personal development is just something I cannot, because the thing is, you can't, he's only a madman that will keep doing the same thing over, the same way, and expect a different results. We've heard that so many times. So where you don't pause, where you don't, where you don't pause and take a reflection, take an account. In the last 5 years I have done this. Where am I now? We are a function of the decisions that we made. Where the decisions that we've been making all this while. So if you've been making decisions and you don't like where you are, can you stop now and start to make better decisions for your future? I don't like how I'm fat. I don't like how I'm this. There's certain things you can't change. We've talked about that. There's certain things you can't change the shape of your nose. If you like, you can go and do nose job, but it doesn't. You can't really change that. You can't change the shape of your backside. You can do a BBL, but those things don't last. Those things are cosmetic. When I'm talking about change, I'm not talking about change of your physical appearance, but the change of my life is just how what am I fully satisfied? Am I living my full potential? Am I doing that which I know that I have capacity to do? So I'm what I am now is a function of all the decisions I've taken before now. So why would I continue like that? Why would I see the need to stop? So the lie of this is how I am, it's not true. Anything can be learned. Anything can be learned. You can learn anything in your old age. You can learn anything, because the way your brain was created for so much more. You have capacity. Even if you don't believe in God, that's okay. That's not okay, but that's okay. But you have capacity. The human being was created with so much capacity. So let's not stay stuck and we're unhappy and we don't like where we are and we don't like what we are doing and we need to pause. Now acknowledge, do your past reflections and align. What are the things that it's a recurring theme in your life? I start things and I don't finish, for instance, or I'm not able to move forward. I'm always afraid. I'm always timid. I always, cover up. I always hide at back. What are your peculiarities? Not for judgment, but to understand the things to study. When you study yourself, when you study your patterns, when you study what you are, you're able to make better decisions. You're able to say to yourself, okay, let's address this. Let's address this. Why is that resistance always coming up? So there are things that there are just three things. I'm almost at the end. I'm almost at the end. Like I said, it's not going to be a long one today because I have to go and attend to a poorly daughter. So let's just round up. Let's talk about the three A's again. Acknowledge your mirror alignment. Your mirror alignment. Acknowledge. Stand in front of the mirror. Honestly describe what you see, but without judgment. I don't want you to ever, whatever you say, to, whatever it is. I know, everybody has a flaw, but whenever you meet with your flaw, whenever you meet with that flaw, don't come with judgment. I'll say it again, don't come with judgment. That flaw is a messenger. It's telling you that, okay, this is where we need to work on. This is how we need to. And if you come with judgment helps you, blocks you somehow from, after all, it kind of blocks you from seeing the thing as it really is. Also, kind of blocks you from even trying to work on it. But when you see it as a messenger, okay, so I'm this sort of person that I'm a people pleaser, I'm a pushover. Okay, so what do we need to do to change that? When you come with curiosity, you're better off. So don't come with judgment. Now, audit, call out the comparisons or the voices that are speaking. That's the third thing I want you to do. Second thing I want you to do, and choose to release them. Write them down, but release them. Okay, I've been like this for God knows how long. I'm releasing it. I don't have to stay that way. I don't have to. So you release the power these things have over you. Release release the power these things have over you. Release the hold, the anchor that they are. Because this anchor thing, it came to me, was it 2 weeks ago, and it's a real serious matter. You find out you may meet somebody 5 years ago, and person, what, I was talking to somebody and she was like, oh, that her person, whatever, I mean, her friend, she was telling me how her friend for the past 4 years has been building a business, but by mouth and no action. And it was so profound for me. You know why? But she talked, she was really upset, she was offended, because she felt like the person was just had grandiose ideas. And it was so profound for me, because I also know someone who, for the longest time, all I know is talk and no action. And you're wondering, these people have and the guy actually had come to me, broken down his ideas, how he wanted to start this, how he wanted to start that, very grand ideas. I said, even if you start it, I would register my children for it, because I know you. Grand ideas, but it didn't even occur to me, number one, that he had been talking about it for the last 4 years. What keeps him stuck? What keeps him, still in idea state? It's a very profound thing. And we talked so much that day. My daughter was upset with me. She said, Mommy, you talked to this person for this long. I said, you won't understand. Sometimes when you're a coach, you just give people listening ears, because we're waiting somewhere. So it wasn't like, I still had to wait. So she wanted me to be talking to her, but that person just came and wanted to pour out. And then trauma is a real deep thing. What had kept this person stuck? What had kept this person so unstable over the years? What had kept this person? You have beautiful ideas. Sometimes when you write your ideas, you're like, wow. Sometimes it's not the absence of money that makes these ideas, translated or not translated. It's just that thing is an anchor. You can't understand it. It's so invisible. And before you know it, you've been talking about it for 5 years. Everybody knows you with that idea. But for 5 years, you're in that idea state. You can't move from idea. You can't move from idea to translation. It's a terrible state. I know people who are who stay in ideas. And when that person was talking, I actually looked, and I could count on my finger at least 5 people that I knew in this state, that in their, they're much older now. And I was very scared, because I'm getting to that age too, that they are. I was very scared. It's scary for me. What keeps people stuck in ideas? We have beautiful ideas, grand ideas. We have capacity. What keeps us stuck? If you don't do these audits, if you don't do this calling out, if you meet it with judgment, you will still stay in idea state, because judgment keeps you stuck. Just leave judgment out of it. Nobody says that your life should be perfect. But when you meet it with, okay, why is the resistance? You start to ask questions. You start to dig into your past. You start to dig into the voices. For each voice you hear, you take it out. Say, okay, I hear in my head. These are the things I hear in my head. Let me write it down. Where did I first hear this voice? Who told me this voice? Where did I start believing this voice? Is this voice actually true? Write these things down. Do that work. It's you owe yourself the duty to do that work to push yourself forward. Let's go on. The last one is alignment. Speak one truth of your becoming self in the mirror. Every morning when you wake up, I told you I have on my phone. I have on my phone my affirmations. As I'm picking my phone to talk to somebody or to chat to somebody or to use my phone, I see my affirmations. I have it on my wall. I have the affirmations that someone I'm becoming. The past is the past, and tomorrow doesn't have to be like today. So yeah, let me just round off with this. The mirror doesn't lie, but the reflection you see is shaped by what you choose to acknowledge, what you carry from your past, and what you align for the future. You can choose which story the mirror tells. And today, I want you to choose alignment. So choose alignment, write your affirmations, tell yourself what you can become, look inwards, dig out those talents that you've hidden. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You're teaching the world how to teach to treat you with what you do, with the things you rise to do. It's a scary world, and I understand. Social media can be very, very unfriendly, very cold, very hard. I understand that, but you inside you lies what it takes to overcome any challenge inside of you. It's just buried under so much chaos and so much things. It's just buried, but you have it inside of you. My desire for everyone who listens to me is that you see how much you can be, that you can see how much is inside of you, how much capacity that you have. Sometimes we give the power of ourselves, of our mind, of our of who we are, we give it to outsiders, we give it to other people. But you don't need to do that anymore. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. So as I round off this evening, sorry, this afternoon, it's a little bit cloudy, so I already thought it was evening. As I round up this afternoon, look at yourself, stand in the mirror, look at yourself. I've given you some journaling prompts. Look at yourself, do those journaling prompts, acknowledge, align, acknowledge, audit, and align. Look at yourself, take a good look at yourself, see beyond what the mirror is saying, and see what capacity that you have on the inside of you. Build it. Build that lady. She's powerful. I'm talking to you. She's powerful. Don't stay in idea state. Don't let the anchor of behaviors keep you stuck. Don't do it. Tell yourself, I can rise and I can shine and I can grow. Let's do this together. Hey mamas, let's start living.